Serious, what's your darkest secret? Once, a lady ran up to me at a notoriously bad corner in town. I thought I knew her from around, as she ran and hugged immediately. She backed off and started babbling incoherently. She is one of the many mentally ill drug addicts of the area. A few minutes later, she does the same to a 50-ish-year-old guy. He gets very creepy with her, pushing her against a bus stop and stating in a dark, matter-of-fact manner, "You're coming home with me tonight." She is looking downward all the while, half in tears, mumbling, shaking her head violently while he gropes her. I am generally very disgusted by rape. An exchange student at my former school was violently raped in an alley. I had hyper-violent dreams of stumbling upon it happening, and violently beating the man to death for months afterwards, and was very drunk at the time. So, I start shit-talking him. He yells at me a bunch, and I back down. Then he grabs her by the wrist and starts pulling her towards the alley. I'm terrified, in tears, drunk, and very angry. She screams. I pull the whiskey bottle out of my bag, yell at him, and get hit in the face. I hit him back with the bottle. She runs. I hit him again and he falls. As he was on the ground, I hit him with the bottle repeatedly. The last time it broke over his face, then I gave him one sloppy and intentional gash across his cheek area, maybe hitting his eye a bit. I ran away crying, then puked. This is the only time I've ever been in a fight, and I've become a bit afraid of myself because of it. My autistic brother steals money from my parents' wallets. My parents know this, and despite that, my father will fork over money to him all the time. No discipline at all. Ticks me right off, so in retaliation I take the money out of his wallet while he's sleeping and return it to my parents' wallets. When I was about 9, my dad got wrongly diagnosed with a couple different psychological disorders. His psychiatrist put him on loads of meds where I didn't even feel like he was there anymore. He was on cloud 9 24/7. So, that leads to this. My dad remarried to my stepmom, who had 3 children, 2 boys and 1 girl. I was 9 at the time, my brothers were 5 and 13 and my sister was about 7. My oldest stepbrother regularly molested and raped my younger brother and sister. This problem carried into a lot of other things, rape/molestation between my 2 youngest siblings, as well as acting up. My little brother used to run around the house throwing shit, yes, literally his own SHT. He would do it as bad behavior, but would mainly do it when my oldest brother was chasing and trying to catch him. I'd wake up in the middle of the night to him touching them, telling them to be quiet. To this day, I just remember the look on his face and in his eyes while in the moment. I will never forget it. He was eventually put in juvie. My stepmom used to make me sleep outside on the ground. If I fell asleep inside, she would wake me up, drag me by whatever limb she could hold onto and put me outside. No blankets, no pillow. Nothing. 100 degrees or 25 degrees. Didn't matter. I was often locked out of the house when my dad was gone to work also. The minute he left, my stepmom would just make my life living hell. Physical and emotional abuse were typical. I bring up the medication my dad was on because he was a damn good dad and my best friend, and in the right mind, he would have never allowed that. He eventually went to a different doctor, got on different meds and left her. But, damn, that SHT was hell. I still remember the day it finally broke. My dad and stepmom were screaming at the top of their lungs and my dad told her that he was gonna leave her and told me to get my stuff. I jumped on the kitchen counter, got right in her face and screamed. Man, it's a real fine line with those drugs. They prescribed him crazy amounts of lithium. Having a conversation with him was impossible. If you said hello, his answer would be something like, Turkey Red Alpha 47. He never made any sense. I am sorry about your sister. Those drugs do a lot more harm than good sometimes. When people ask me about my siblings, I will first tell them that I have an older brother, 8 years older, and a younger sister, 4 years younger. The full truth is, I once had another sister, Brittany. She was a year and a half younger than me. During my mother's pregnancy with my sister Brittany, a test showed that my sister may have had a birth defect, maybe Down syndrome, but a later test showed that everything seemed okay. Nobody suspected a thing, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary, until she was born. When she was born, they saw that she had a cleft lip and palate. This was how they first noticed her problem. My sister had Edwards syndrome, a chromosomal birth disorder. Pretty much no one that has it makes it to adulthood. Someone with the disorder is lucky, if you can call it that, to survive a year. Wikipedia says 8% make it beyond 1 year. She lived a year, a month, and a day. In addition to her cleft lip and cleft palate, my sister was deaf and mentally retarded. She was unable to eat, and had to be fed through a feeding tube, which would make her cry and often throw up. Her head was somewhat large, relative to her body, and her muscles weren't well developed, so she was never able to sit up by herself. Most babies are able to sit by around 8 months. They couldn't take her outside in the sun for very long. She would get red and irritated. We have a small photo album of her. Her face was a little odd, and she had pointy ears, but mostly she didn't look that out of the ordinary. In a close-up, I can see that she had the same blue eyes as me and the rest of my family. There are a few photos of her lying down, with my dad holding her arms up. I'm told that this is because one time, my mom was singing Wheels on the Bus and moving my sister's arms around, and when my mom held her arms up, my sister smiled and laughed. It was one of the only times that she ever appeared to be happy. So, in those photos, my dad was holding my sister's arms up, trying to get a picture of her smiling. No such luck. There are some photos of me and her. Remember, I was 2 years old. I used to sometimes pull up a chair to her crib and climb in with her, playing around, doing whatever it is 2-year-olds do. It seemed I loved her, at least, as much as a 2-year-old can love a younger sister. But I have absolutely no memory of her. Everything I know of her is secondhand, through my mother and those photos, and I have no idea how my sister's life and death may have affected me. Initially, my parents didn't want to do the surgery to fix my sister's cleft palate. She couldn't have surgery anyway, until she was, I think, 10 pounds, because she would need anesthetic, so they had to at least wait until she was older. When she made it to 1 year old, beyond anyone's expectations, my parents began to consider that my sister just might survive for a while, so they decided to go ahead with the surgery to fix her cleft palate. She didn't wake up from the surgery. My mom says that it was likely for the best. My sister didn't live a very pleasant life. When I was very little, probably around 3 to 4, I used to play a game with my parents where I'd go to the bathroom and brush my teeth before bed, and when I got to my room they'd pretend to be asleep and I'd find creative ways to wake them up. Being so young, I thought my dad was superhero-style indestructible, and in thinking so I decided to try something that would hurt a kid like me but wouldn't harm him at all since he was big. I found a pencil laying on the desk and tried to stab him in the eye with it. Luckily, he was peeking, and stopped me just before I did it. To this day it gives me a sinking feeling in my stomach, thinking about what might have happened. When I was 11 years old, in 2006, my little baby sister drowned in my backyard swimming pool, and died while I was at my father's house on the weekend. I was very close to my sister. I loved her with all of my heart. My mother often talks about how she misses my sister, and I agree with her. There is only one problem. I have almost no memory of my sister. My mom does not know this, and I do not know why I have such a hard time trying to remember. I obviously remember what she looks like, but I cannot remember how she acted or how I acted towards her. I can only remember a few moments of when we were together. One of the moments was when I was swimming in the pool, trying to do backflips. Yelling out to my mom, "Mom, watch me." My mom was holding my baby sister and talking to her, so she didn't hear me. I, being selfish and rude, yelled at the top of my lungs, "Stop babying her," and stormed up the deck, and into the house. I have no idea why I can remember this moment, but not any good moments. There is this moment that I dream of all the time. As I was getting in the car, on the day she died, to go to my dad's house on the weekend, she jumped into the car and gave me a tight hug goodbye. I do not know if this moment happened or not, but it just feels so real when I think about it. I hope it happened. I have no idea if this is a dark secret or not. But it is a secret. A secret that I have almost no memories of a loved one in my life. I needed to get this out. Thanks Reddit.